Whispers of the Unseen, Episode 4. Translated by Lamu, produced by Witch Zada, the guardian who never grew up. They've had so much to say, and they've been waiting so long. The voices of the unseen, waiting and death. I died while waiting for my mother to come back. That day the sun was thin, dusting the street like flour through a sieve. At the corner, glass jars lined up in a row, reds, greens, yellows, candies stacked like tiny planets. I stared at the pink ones. They looked sour first, then sweet, the kind that melts on your tongue and turns the whole mouth into a small sky. I tugged my mother's sleeve and pointed. "I want that one." She smiled and nudged me into the shade. "Stand here. Don't run. I'll be right back." Her fingertip tapped my forehead as if pressing a promise into place. I sat on the stone step by our door. My shoes dangled. The laces were loose again. I tied a lopsided bow and started counting the squares of shadow creeping across the ground. 1, 2, 3, and every 3 I lifted my head to check the corner. In my mind, I tied a string from my chest to wherever she was, a string called right back. The street was full, oil popping in a pan, a dog barking once and then snoring, wooden clothespins clacking as someone shook a sheet. The TV in the neighbor's house laughed too loud. Noise makes a place feel safe. But the noise lowered slowly, like someone turning a knob. The air took on the smell of fried noodles, and my stomach felt empty, like a pocket. I rested my chin on my knees and traced the lines in my palm. Mother said they can show you the way home. I tried to connect them like a maze, from my palm to the doorway to the corner and past the candy jars, all the way to her feet. An ant climbed out from a crack in the step, carrying a crumb bigger than its head. I slid the crumb closer with my finger. "Hurry," I whispered. "When my mom comes back, I don't want her to step on you." I said it softly, the way you hold your breath when you're down to the last drop. Shadow cooled. Wind threaded itself through the door crack and made the old newspaper rustle. I pulled my jacket up. One button was missing, so it always closed crooked. My fingers were cold. I blew on them and drew a circle in my palm with my breath. I pretended the circle was a sun. Footsteps hurried toward the corner. I looked up, heart bumping. It was only a man in a rush, smelling like smoke and rain. I bowed my head and told myself, just a little longer. She said she'd be quick. I invented a game called If. If she reaches the corner now, who will she see first, me or the jars? If I keep my shoe tips pointing at the street, she'll come faster. If I don't blink, she won't take the wrong turn. The rules were all mine, but I followed them carefully because following them made the ache smaller. Streetlights clicked on one by one. Yellow halves of moon bit into the dark. My stomach made a hollow sound. I tuned my ears to farther things. A bicycle bell far off, a shutter gate rattling down, a song from somewhere else with words I couldn't make out. I hummed the tune into my own words. Right back, like a slow wooden fish beating inside my chest. I didn't dare cry. Tears might slow time. Tears might wash the road away and make it hard for her to return. Still, the rims of my eyes felt hot. I pressed my sleeve against them and wiped very carefully, as if tears were something expensive you shouldn't spill. From the far end of the lane, laughter rolled like marbles on a wooden floor. Someone cursed. Someone said they had to wake early. All of it sounded very far away, like a different world next to mine. My world was the cold of the stone, the wind at the door crack, and the jar of pink candies that had not yet been touched by my hand. I remembered being sick once, her hand on my forehead, the back of it cool, the smell of soap and sun, like sheets dried on the line. That smell made fear smaller. I pulled a breath, trying to find that smell in the air. It wasn't there, only dust gone damp and a thin thread of smoke. My chest tightened, as if a string had been wound 3 times around it. I pushed dust on the step into little roads with my fingertip. 1 road to the corner, a second to the market, a third to the place where promises wait. I named them comeback roads. Each time I shaped a bend, I paused to listen for footsteps climbing onto my road. Wind came first and erased a turn. I got angry and told the wind not to touch my drawings. The wind didn't listen. It slipped through the door crack and ruffled my hair. I wrapped a strand around my finger, round and round, until my fingertip tingled. Stars blinked awake. I knew not to count them all. If you finish counting, wishes fall down and break. So I stopped halfway, saving one for her. Quietly, I told the sky, "Hurry. I saved one star for you." For a second, I felt clever, like I'd done a secret job only I could do. The sky did not answer. A slow cloud rolled over like a shoulder turning in sleep. At some point, two shadows stood at the corner. I squinted. For a heartbeat, I made them into my mother and someone beside her. But no one waved. No one called my name. My name suddenly felt thin, light enough to be blown away. I said it to myself, out loud but very small, to make sure it was still tied to me. The two shadows came closer. Not my mother, two strangers. Their heels struck the step with a hard sound, as if nails were being driven into wood. As they neared, a clean metallic smell reached me, like a knife newly sharpened. I leaned back against the door. Splinters pricked my skin through my jacket. I wanted to stand, but my legs were bags of sand. One crouched. His fingers measured the air, the way you measure the size of a box. His eyes were bright, but not warm, sharp bright, like a reflected blade. "This child is quiet," he said. The other, clean, not yet crossed over, just right. They spoke as if I were a thing. I tried to tell them I was waiting for my mother. I tried to say no. The no lodged in my throat, round and breathless, the way a bubble gets stuck and won't pop. Their hands reached, cool, dry, without any smell of soap or sun. I pretended I was a cat and could slip between their fingers. I pretended I was wind and could pass their sleeves. I pretended I was a candy and could melt. Pretending didn't change anything. I was just a child waiting for her mother, small and soft and not strong enough. Their fingers closed around my wrist. Cold jolted through me. For a silly second I wanted to sneeze, because if I sneezed, maybe the day would shake and reset itself. The world did not shake. The world went dim very fast. First the sounds moved away, as if cotton had been tucked into my ears. Color left in layers, streetlight yellow, wall blue, the tiny red of lace on my laces. Then there was only one color. None. Smell left. Hunger left. The wind stopped stitching itself through the door. Everything departed at once, like someone pulling a tablecloth and taking the dishes with it. Just before I fell through, I caught one thought and pressed it to me. I will say right back backward. If I say it backward perfectly, time will turn. I turned the words over and over. They became pebbles and fell on me. A worry opened. What if, when time runs backward, I discover she never said it? What if I put the promise in her mouth because I needed it to be true? The thought slipped. My fingers, if I still had them, couldn't hold it. Black swallowed me. The black was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels like a thick page set over the years. The page separated me from everything. No TV laughter, no noodle smell, not even the dog's sleepy breath. Only a heartbeat at first, thump, 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 slower and slower, wooden fish at the end of a chant. The echo thinned and went. My body felt light, like mist. I didn't know if I still sat on the step or if the step had been folded away. There was no time, only waiting itself, a rope without an end, tying me to a place I could not name. From that borderless dark a smell rose, metal, cold, the same knife brightness from before. It took hold and tugged me in a direction that had no words. I forgot to breathe. I had just enough left to say one last thing to myself. "Mother, if you come back, remember to wake me up." This was my death, not sickness, not an accident. It was waiting until strangers came, being wrapped in promise and night until only night remained, and saying my name so softly even I could barely hear it. The witch wants to tell you, what you heard is not the beginning of a ghost story. It is the last evening of a child, whole and ordinary and real. She used every small thing she had to keep going, counting shadows, tracing palm lines, talking to an ant, turning a song into right back. She wanted almost nothing, a pink candy and a promise kept. When hands took her and sealed her away, the world quickly forgot who she had been. She stopped being a daughter. She became quiet, clean, just right. A fit, a function. You often ask whether a charm is effective. Before that, try asking something else. Is she happy? The shell and the new owner's joy. I did not know what a charm was. One day, strange voices circled me, weaving words I couldn't understand. Fingers drew invisible lines in the air. Those lines pressed down, and I was pushed into something cold and hard, a shell, small enough to fit in a hand. Inside the shell, there was no wind. At first, I could only hear myself, my own whisper echoing against the walls. I tried to stretch my arms, but there was only smooth, unyielding surface. I pressed my ear to it, and outside was muffled, as though wrapped in fog. Footsteps, a faint clink of metal, cloth rustling. Then a pair of hands lifted me. They were gentle, careful, as if I might break. Her palms were warm and smelled faintly of laundry dried in sunlight. I heard her voice, soft, shaky with hope. Please, please, I just want life to get a little better. She placed me in a velvet pouch, walked quickly, heart thumping like a bird in her chest. I heard the ding of an elevator, the turn of a key, the shuffle of shoes by the door. When she opened the pouch, she spread a clean cloth on the table and set me in the center. She bowed slightly, awkward but sincere. Please take care of me. Her voice trembled, but she repeated it twice, as if afraid the first hadn't been enough. Something flickered in the shell then, a light. Not from outside, but from her words themselves. For the first time, the cold softened. For the first time, I did not feel like a stone. The next morning, she wore me on her chest. I rested against her shirt, swaying with each step. The city's noise crashed around us, buses, horns, voices. But she kept pressing her hand lightly against where I hung, a small reassurance. You're with me. Before a job interview, she whispered into the pouch, barely audible. Help me, please? I gathered everything I had, all the thin threads of warmth, and pressed them outward. I steadied her breath, softened her heartbeat. When she walked out of the building later, she was smiling. Her hand tightened around the bag strap, and I felt it, her gratitude. Thank you, she said aloud for me. The words vibrated through the shell like ripples across a pond. I wanted to leap into her arms. I wanted to tell her, I'm not just a charm, I'm your child now. From then on, she carried me everywhere. On crowded buses, I heard her thoughts churn, numbers, deadlines, doubts. At night, when she walked alone down dark streets, I made the fabric over me a little warmer. Once, a car sped too close. Her body shifted just enough, and she whispered, I'm lucky I had you. That night she opened her bag, took me out, and looked at me with tired but gentle eyes. Thank you, she said again. The shell glowed faintly, a secret only I could feel. She wasn't perfect. Sometimes she forgot to speak to me, too busy with work. But I still stayed close, making the strap softer on her shoulder, drying sweat on her back faster, letting the noise of arguments in the apartment next door fade so she could sleep. She never noticed those details, but she always smiled when she woke a little less tired. That was enough. She even tried to care for me in her own way. On her desk, she laid a small cloth, and one evening she placed a candy on it, pink, strawberry flavored from the corner store. I don't know if this is right, she said nervously, but I hope you like it. The moment I saw that candy, something inside me broke open. It was the same color as the one I had wanted that day, the day I waited. Sour first, then sweet, like clouds turning into sugar. I could not eat it, but memory did. For a second, I was that child again, reaching across the glass jar. She said, Do you like it? Inside the shell. I nodded, so hard I thought I might rattle. She couldn't see, but I sent that tiny sweetness back to her heart, hoping she would feel it. She often whispered small things before leaving the house. Good morning. Don't let it rain today. Please help me get through this. And at night, when she returned exhausted, she would sigh. sometimes laugh, and sometimes cry quietly. She didn't demand miracles. She just needed to know she wasn't alone. And because she treated me like I mattered, I began to believe it myself. She once held me in her hands after drinking too much. Her face pressed into her arm, her voice muffled. "I'm scared," she admitted. Then, quickly, "But I'll face it. I'll be fine. Don't worry about me." She kissed the shell lightly before setting me down. She even looked at herself in the mirror with me in her palm. Sometimes she smiled at her reflection, then at me, as if greeting two parts of the same world. For a moment, I wasn't a tool. I was part of her life. Her friends noticed me once. "Cute charm," one said. "Where'd you get it?" another asked. She didn't explain. She just touched me lightly and smiled. That smile told me everything. I was not an object she had to justify. I was simply hers. At night, she laid me gently on the cloth, dimmed the lamp, and whispered, "Good night." She always glanced back once, as though checking I was covered. I had no blanket, but her words were enough. I thought, "This is home." I thought. The promise I had waited for finally returned in another form. She was not my mother, but her thank yous, her good mornings, and that single pink candy began stitching me back together. For the first time, I felt I was not just waiting. I was answering. The witch wants to tell you. Did you hear it? When she placed that pink candy, the child inside tasted memory. When she whispered, "Thank you," the shell lit up. This is not about miracles. It's about recognition. Most people ask, is it effective? But effectiveness isn't what keeps a soul alive. It is kindness. It is remembering that inside the charm is not a tool, but a child who once longed for love. The next time you wear a charm, don't only demand, "Protect me." Try whispering instead, "Are you happy?" Abandonment and the drawer's darkness. I thought it would stay this way. Mornings and nights, the small thank you, the pink candy on the corner of the clock. I kept each of them like folded sun in my shell. Then another voice arrived, lower, impatient, the sound of a heel scraping the floor. "This thing gives me the creeps. Get rid of it." The light inside the shell flickered. She covered me with her hand. Her voice rushed, tripping over itself. "Don't. This matters to me." But her hand shook. That single tremor opened a thin seam, and warmth leaked out through it. They argued. A door slammed. A chair scraped. A glass chimed against a table edge. Her breaths climbed and dropped like someone on a staircase that never ended. At last, silence. She didn't put me back around her neck. She slid me into the drawer. The drawer was dark. When it closed, the world was swallowed by wood. A thin white slit of light cut across the back like a knife mark. I pressed my shell to it and saw nothing clearly. Only the smells met me. The sweet sting of dried nail polish, paper dust from old receipts, powder from a broken compact, the cool taste of coins. All of it mixed into a stew with no name. I told myself, it's only for a while. She'll remember. She'll open the drawer when her hands are less tired. I behaved. I made myself as small as I could. I listened. Footsteps, the TV, the kettle, the phone's quick insect buzz. I strung these sounds together like stitches, sewing a coat out of what I had. If the coat kept forming, she would come back to try it on me. The first day, she opened the drawer once. Light rushed in like a river, lifting dust into little galaxies. Her hand searched through the clutter. Nail clippers, hairpins, a lipstick cap, everything pushed aside in a small storm. She didn't look at me, didn't touch me. Her fingers were damp. They took a pack of tissues and left. The drawer snapped shut and the river vanished, and I was set down on the bank again, dripping. The second day, she opened it twice. Receipts the first time, ointment the second. Her fingers brushed the air near me. I let my shell kiss the wood. Just a tiny click, a pebble tapped against a board. "I'm here," I tried to say. She paused, her brow folding as if listening. My light shivered. "I'm so tired," she whispered to no one, and closed the drawer. Time inside the drawer turned sticky. There was no day and night, only the rhythm outside. Trash truck music drifting by at morning, delivery scooters stuttering in at noon, a theme song from the neighbor's drama each evening. Weekends were softer. Payday stamped heavier steps at the door. These small differences became my calendar. I made friends with the drawer things. A dented $10 coin that coughed a dull thud when it rolled. A warped hairpin sleeping like a curled insect. A chipped bottle cap with saw teeth. I named them Round, Curl, and Notch. I told them about buses and rain and elevator days, about the way she said thank you about the candy. I spoke quietly to save what strength I had left. Sometimes I thinned my voice into mist and let it drift toward the slit of light. Do you hear me? I'm still here. I still want to play. I practiced little rituals so I wouldn't break. I divided the shell's glow into quarters, more in the morning, less in the afternoon, gathered again at night, pretending to be a sun. I took the word thank you out and polished it until it shone, then set it high inside me so I wouldn't forget its shape. I folded good morning and good night into neat squares and tucked them against the inner wall, safe from the damp. Once she cried outside. I couldn't follow the words, only the shapes. Why, never mind, I'm tired. The drawer opened to a finger's width. No lamp, black staring into black. A small exit in her chest for the night to leave through. I pushed my light to the crack until I felt cold. Her hand searched, touched me, missed me, lifted tissues, and shut the drawer. The sound of paper pulling 1, 2, 3 sheets. Each one I answered with I'm here, even if only I could hear it. Another time she was angry. The door slammed hard enough to shake the frames. The drawer flew open. Everything leapt and fell. Round, curl, notch all tumbled. I slid dangerously close to the gap at the back. Her hand hovered, fist tightening, loosening. Pick me up, I begged, the way a child begs without words. She grabbed a messy handful of other things instead. I don't have time, she muttered, and the drawer came down with a heavy thud that broke over me like a cold wave. I tried to become lighter. No more sounds, no rattles. I locked the glow deeper, rationed hope into crumbs, like breaking a candy into quarters. But even crumbs run out. When they did, only a thin aftertaste remained, and the nail polish smell turned it sour. At last I could not help it. I leaned my shell gently against the wood. Not a knock, just a lean. The tiniest sound of dust shifting. She did hear. The drawer opened wide. Light speared in. She looked straight at me. No softness, only a tired face emptied of expression. Are you still here? I don't have time for you. No malice. Colder than malice. The drawer closed. The air sealed with it, like something caught in the seam and left outside, unable to return. She opened the drawer less after that. Sometimes a glass of water sat on the table above, its cool breath slipping through the wood. Sometimes a short laugh penciled itself on the surface, faint and quick. Mostly, silence grew heavy and settled like dust over everything, even my chest. I waited. Waiting wasn't a measure of minutes. It was weather, wet and chilly and endless. I laid the old cards out to keep my heart from warping. Good morning, good night, thank you, Candy. Round held the corners down. Curl guarded the useless door. Notch bit his own shadow like he was warning me not to chew my own. I smiled a voiceless smile. I didn't want to gnaw at myself. I only feared the rain of forgetting would soak my name into pulp. The outside world brushed close sometimes. Her phone buzzed on the table, slid toward the gap, scraped the wood, and stopped near me. Its trembling felt like a second heartbeat. She snatched it up, wind spilling in after the phone, a breeze with a scent of her so faint it almost wasn't there. I watched her fingers open and close above me, missing me each time by the width of a breath. I learned to dream on purpose. In the dream, I was back at her chest. She thanked me. 2 pink candies waited on the clock. She walked at night without hurrying, paused at a puddle, and in the reflection I saw all 3 of us, the night, her and me, looking back. The dream was thin glass. It broke when I woke. The edges scratched my throat. Eventually, I lowered myself, not giving up, pressing expectation down to the floor, so the fall would be shorter. I changed, she will come back, to maybe one day she'll remember. New mother, to someone who once left me a candy. Home, to the place where I was placed gently. Still, I looked up at the knife-white slit of light. If it stayed, I would keep looking. For a long time, I don't remember if I cried. In a drawer, crying sounds like not crying. Both or nothing. Only the chest goes hollow, like a piece taken from a puzzle. I pressed my, if I still had one, hand to the gap and couldn't fill it. So I moved thank you over the hole, set the pink candy memory on top as a weight. The hollow didn't disappear, but it stopped shouting. I still want to play. I still want sunlight and running and sticky fingers and laughter. But I am a shell in a drawer, waiting for hands that may never open again. I said it so many times it stopped being a sentence and turned into a breath. In still want, out, cannot. From very far away, someone called my name. The sound crossed wood and dust and that thin, bright cut of light and reached me as the last syllable of a wave. I reached for it. What I caught was my shell. The witch wants to tell you, being put away is not kindness when it means being forgotten. People say, at least it wasn't thrown out. But for a soul, the cruelest thing isn't death. It is erasure, becoming nameless among receipts and hairpins and caps. Did you hear how hard she worked to stay alive in there? She rationed light, polished thank you, used the memory of a pink candy like a paperweight over the hole in her chest. She wasn't haunting anyone. She was living with what she had. If you no longer wear a charm, don't leave her buried. Give her a place that can be seen. A clean cloth, a small note with a name or the name you choose for her, and one candy. Tell her, you can rest. Go play if you want. If you wish to go home, I'll help you find the way. If you truly are busy, open the drawer once a week and say, I remember you. Let light in. Let air in. Let her know she is not an abandoned tool. Most of all, change use into care, and is it effective? Into are you happy? You ask for protection. Will you also become part of the protecting? When you do, she won't have to hold her world together with a single candy's memory. She will step out of the dark as a child with a name, and the house will be safer because love is in the room. Seasons and the unspoken voice. In the drawer there was no day and no night, only a blur of gray, a dream that never woke. I thought time had stopped, but slowly I began to hear. Outside, the seasons moved. Spring, summer, autumn, winter, spring. Birdsong grew louder through the thin crack of the window. Tiny voices, urgent and busy, as if the branches were holding a noisy meeting. Children's laughter sometimes threaded between them. Run faster. Wait for me. A ball bounced. Thump, thump, thump. Inside the drawer, I arranged those sounds into pictures. I sat on a swing, moving back and forth. Sunlight flickered through leaves, painting my cheeks. If someone pushed me high enough, I would see over the wall, and maybe glimpse the road where Mother would come. I told myself, just one more push and she'll appear. But in the drawer, I only rocked in place, pretending the air against my face was wind. Summer. The fan roared overhead, restless. Sweat and sunscreen filled the air. Sometimes mosquito coils smoldered, their smoke curling into the drawer through the slit, making my chest sting. Her steps were quicker in the heat, shoes slapping the floor. Slap, 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 as though she could shake the day off her body. I dreamed of children by a river, bare feet splashing, water flying into the sun. Someone shouted, careful. Someone laughed so hard they coughed. I joined them in my mind, water cold and bright on my skin. But the drawer only grew hotter. The smoke lingered, the laughter dissolved, leaving only a sticky silence. Autumn. The sound of sweeping arrived. Leaves dragged across the ground, shaw, 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 like someone writing slowly with a brush. I closed my eyes and imagined my name being written, each stroke careful, deliberate, as if someone didn't want me to miss a letter. But then the wind rose. The strokes scattered. My name broke apart. Sometimes smoke of burning paper money drifted in, a bitter smell of prayer for the dead. I wondered, had anyone ever burned for me? Had anyone said my name out loud, asking for my peace? The answer echoed back empty. No one called. No one remembered. My name existed only inside my chest. If I forgot it, nothing would remain. Winter. The drawer was always cold, but winter pressed a deeper blade. Air sharpened into knives that cut without sound. She wore thick coats now. The zipper rasped, zip, metal teeth closing. Her breath slowed, heavier, but her hand never reached inside for me again. I pretended I was outside, scarf around my neck, running across snow, each step leaving a print, proof that I had lived. But here in the drawer, I left no tracks. Even breath returned to me, cold against my face, as though the drawer refused to keep it. The seasons circled again and again. I did not grow older. I did not change. Only the voices inside me multiplied. One shouted, "Let me out." One cried, "Where's my mother?" One whispered, "Wait, she'll remember." Which one was truly me? I couldn't tell anymore. I only knew the shell felt heavier, like a rope tightening, tying me to darkness. Sometimes I pressed my ear to the shell, listening to her voice. She still laughed sometimes. She still dreamed aloud sometimes. But her words were always far, as though spoken across a river I could not cross. I wanted to run to her and say, "I'm here. I still want to play." But I could not. I stayed silent, shouting only inside. "Can you hear me? I haven't finished playing yet. The witch wants to tell you. Do you hear it?" She lived through a whole year of seasons in the dark. Spring birds, summer sweat, autumn leaves, winter chill, all only as echoes. People say charms stop working, but what really stopped working was her heart, fractured by neglect. She wasn't useless. She was broken by forgetting. If you've ever worn a charm, remember, it is not a tool. It may be a child waiting still, hoping for candy, for a name, for someone to say, "Do you want to go outside?" Crying out and release. I kept waiting for the drawer to open again, waiting for someone to say my name, waiting for a voice to whisper, "You're home now." But in the end, there was only dark. Sometimes I dreamed I was running on a track. My shoes slapped the red ground. One circle, two, three, faster and faster until I nearly touched the back of the child ahead of me. "Wait," I shouted. "I'm coming." But just as I stretched out my hand, the ground gave way. I plunged back into the drawer. Sometimes I dreamed my mother returned. She held a pink candy in her palm, wrapping glinting under the light. She called my name with a smile. "Come take it." I rushed forward, tears spilling hot, reaching out, but the candy hardened, chilled, and shattered into nothing. My fingers closed on emptiness. Why? Why was I chosen to guard instead of play? Why was I sealed into a tool? My laughter traded for prayers I didn't understand? Why did I have to become useful before I was ever allowed to be loved? I wanted crayons and paper, sticky fingers from sweets, a scarf in winter, sun on my back in summer. I wanted to live like a child, but no one asked what I wanted. They only asked if I worked. They called me powerful, but power means nothing if no one asks. "Are you happy?" They said I could protect them. But who is going to protect me? I was not a holy being. I was not some ancient guardian. I was just a child, a small child who had never been fully loved. At first, I whispered my need to the shell, soft as breathing. "I'm here. I want to play." Then louder. "Please hear me. Please remember me." Then louder still, pounding against the dark. "Can you hear me? I'm not your tool. I'm not something you bought, wore, and tossed aside. I'm me." The drawer swallowed a whole. Silence pressed in, heavier than hate. It was as if the world had gone deaf. But now, at last, someone is listening. Someone has opened the drawer in another way and let my voice out. So I will say it clearly one last time. Please stop locking us in the dark. Please stop judging us by working or not working. We don't want offerings piled like walls. We don't need smoke or gold or grand words. we need a home. A place where someone remembers our names. A place where someone says thank you and good night and I'm glad you're here. If you want me to protect you, then protect me first. If you want me to stay, give me one reason to smile again. Because I don't want to be forgotten. I don't want to vanish nameless in the dark. I only want, just once, to be loved as a child. The witch wants to tell you, what you heard tonight was not superstition. It was the cry of a soul. You may wear charms. You may pray to them. But when you ask for blessing, do you ever pause to say, thank you? Do you want to rest? Are you happy? Inside each charm may live a spirit who once had a name, a laugh, a dream, a mother. They were forced into guardianship, but once they too only longed for love. So next time you lift a charm, don't look at it as a tool. Look at it as a soul. If you truly want to be protected, become part of the protecting, because only a child who has known kindness will guard you with joy. Only a soul who has a home will not cry again in the dark.
You've just listened to Whispers of the Unseen, Episode 4, The Guardian Who Never Grew Up. These are not stories of fantasy, but voices of souls who were once forgotten. If this story touched you, let it stay with you, and let it remind you to see the unseen, to care for what others overlook. And if you'd like to keep walking with us through more voices and stories, please subscribe, follow, and share. Your support helps these whispers reach more hearts, so none of them will ever be left unheard again.